Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel. Welcome back to another live stream. You might be wondering where the intro is today. I just tried it and it didn't work. So you've got me for an intro. How lovely. Anyway, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another live stream. Unfortunately, at the moment, United are only playing once a week. But it does mean that we get more time to enjoy the wins. And United are, of course, have winning 3 games on the bounce now. We beat Manchester City, we beat Arsenal, and we beat Fulham. All very different challenges, and this weekend we once again find ourselves with a new challenge. Tottenham Hotspur are coming to Old Trafford, and whilst their league position may not be great, having back-to-back absolute stinker seasons, they're always a bit of a problem for us over the past few seasons. We haven't actually beat them since, when's that, 2022. Now, we are currently in 2026. So we haven't beat them for a long time, Spurs. And I don't know about you, but I sort of feel that it's time we change that. I think last season we played them 4 times and lost every single one. And, you know, they were terrible last year. They're not good this season, and we drew with them earlier in the campaign. So I think it's about time that we try and win one of these football matches. But to do that, I need your help creating a starting 11 from back to front, from the goalkeeper to the back 4 to the midfield and the forwards. And then, of course, a playing style and how we can actually approach this game. Because tactics are much more than just a formation and a starting 11. So that is the plan for today's stream. But before we do any of that, I want to hear from you guys in the chat. First of all, how are you feeling about the game? Are you feeling confident? Are you feeling in a good vibe coming into this one? Are you a little bit nervous? And also, just how are things in general? We haven't caught up on a stream since last Friday. So, how's life? How are we feeling? And yeah, let me know. Let me know. I'm a Spurs fan. I know you're not, my friend. I think if you guys play Ugarte, you are guaranteed 3 points. Look at that, by the way. We've got David in the chat literally immediately. And I say immediately because today, David managed to get the Discord link in the chat, like before I could even see the chat. So W mod. And then also he is here with a gifted membership as well, which has gone to Mark. Mark, enjoy it, my friend. And David, thank you very much, as always, for your support on the stream, on the channel, and just with this amazing community. Thank you very much. Guys, I don't like to encourage spamming in the chat, right? But if we do see someone donating or gifting a membership or anything like that, make sure to spam some love for us to show that we appreciate them, because people like David are absolute legends and keep this community going, particularly because in YouTube world we are currently in Q1, which means we get paid nothing no matter how many views we get. So yes, people like David really do help right now. Anyway, shall we get into it? Actually, no, quick thing I need to read out. Off topic, AJ, but will you do a video on potential managers for United? 2 categories, experienced and new ones. Yes, I will definitely be doing that. I won't be doing it just yet because, you know, whilst we're flying under Michael Carrick, it sort of feels a little bit like the wrong time. I think tactically there's been so much to discuss with what we've got currently at the club. But as we get closer to the summer, we will definitely be looking at different managers. There's a chance it'll be Michael Carrick. We don't know. But also, there are a couple of quiet spells coming up this season with international breaks and United just not playing in many competitions. So at some point, sort of the current topics will slow down a little bit. So maybe then we'll branch out and have a look at some different managers and maybe even some different players that we would like to see coming into the club in the summer. But yes, that is definitely something that we will be looking at when we get there. For right here, right now, though, we need to talk about the Manchester United starting 11. And I'm going to do the easy bit for you guys, all right? Just because I'm nice like that. Lomans in goal. Cool. Back 4, what do we reckon? Now, last week we had a big discussion about this, and I think what we sort of eventually ended up on was the idea of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's keep the same defence again. But we did see last week that we didn't feel quite as solid defensively. So I think there is maybe an argument for changing it. Let's have a look at what United could do in terms of defensive personnel. De Ligt, unfortunately, still seems to be out and not even to be seen in training at the moment, which is really concerning. We actually did a keep or sell stream last week, and we put De Ligt in a category where he's got to prove himself. And with that, we didn't mean performance, but we meant fitness. You know, he's got to stay fit, but he can't do it at the moment. Anyway, United defenders. Lenny Yoro could come into the team and probably wants to come into the team. He'd probably like an opportunity, as would Aiden Heaven, I would imagine. Mazraoui is also probably sitting there going, I want to play some football, get me in this team. But of course, we also have the regulars. Diogo Dalot played very well last weekend, I thought. Really well. And was good against City and Arsenal as well. He looks just much more comfortable in a back four as a fullback rather than a wing back. It just suits him. Left side is Luke Shaw right now, unless we move a fullback across. And then the centre-backs, we've got Lisandro Martinez, who I think has been very, very good recently, especially on the ball. He's an absolute joke. And we've also got the Lord himself, Harry Maguire. Who would you be going for out of these four guys? That is my question to you. We've also got David in the chat, by the way, celebrating 24 months of membership on the channel, which is absolutely insane. 2 years. And as he points out, he has also been watching the channel a lot longer than that as well. So David, thank you very much, as always. That is absurd. Guys, we need some love hearts in the chat for David, because he is an icon around here. We've got quite a lot of new people around the streams at the moment. If you don't know David, get to know David. He is a lovely bloke. He's a great person to chat to and is always supporting the channel. So what an absolute hero. We've also got Chad in the chat, who was a man that I would recommend avoiding at all costs. But yes, AJ, yes, Chad. I can confirm that is true. I was thinking Carrick will surely rotate the centre-backs at some point. I think there's a few things to consider here. First of all, you've got Harry Maguire, who I think's had a good 3 games. I think he's been good recently, to be honest. But we do know there are certain types of football matches that don't suit him. We do know that when you want United to defend slightly larger spaces, we're not so comfortable with it. We don't love Maguire so much in those games. But also, he was rushed back quite quickly, weren't he, for the City game? He was injured before that. We hadn't seen him for ages. And then he was rushed back quite quickly. Now, I guess playing once a week is sort of helping here. But is there a chance he just needs one out just to look after them? Because we do play West Ham midweek. This is actually a rare week where we're going to play twice in the space of about 4 days. So that is something that we've got to consider. Is this one where Maguire just needs to be protected a little bit? Maybe. And then, I mean, look at the other centre-backs. Yoro and Heaven will feel that they deserve an opportunity. They will want the chance to show themselves and show what they can do. So let me know in the chat what you would be going for your back four. Now, Shaw feels set at the moment, right? He started every game this season, played the most minutes out of all United players. You could move Dalot or Mazraoui out there, but I think Carrick has done a lovely job so far of getting a balanced team. So why change it? Why put an unnatural player over there? So I think Shaw will play again, providing he's fit. Wednesday might be a slightly different conversation because of fitness. But what would you do with your centre-backs and also your right-back? What would you be thinking? Yep, Chad is AJ. Confirmed. Here we go, confirmed. Love it. Greg, good morning to you, my friend. How are you? It's good to see you. Yeah, I'm not bad at all, honestly. United are winning, so I'm happy. And, you know, we're winning in a way which feels sustainable. You know, we're going to have an off week at some point. Last week was nearly that, I do still feel. We will drop points at some point. This might be a game that we lose or draw, or West Ham, or the one after. But at least it feels like suddenly there is a picture of what we could do. Like, I can sort of look ahead now and think what Manchester United might be in 2 months down the line. With Ruben Amorim, it never really felt that way. It really felt like we were clutching at straws for any positive. I think right now the positives are just flowing everywhere, left, right and centre. So, yeah, I'm a very, very happy man. United are winning, and I can see it continuing, which is a lot of fun. Let me just mute my phone once again. Incredibly unprofessional from myself. I do apologise for that. I do apologise. We need to sub Maguire with Yoro/Heaven if he plays badly in the first half. Is there an argument for just starting Yoro or Heaven from the start? That might be a possibility for us. David would go for Dalot, Maguire, Licha, Shaw. Same back four for this one for me. You see, this is sort of the positive and also the negative of only playing pretty much once a week for the rest of the season. The positive is we can look after the fitness of these players incredibly well. Like, Maguire, Martinez and Shaw are all injury-prone players, like massively. But because they're only playing once a week, we can look after them, we can protect them physically. The downside of it is people like Heaven, Yoro, even Mazraoui just can't get an opportunity right now. They can't get into the team because the back four are playing well, so it'd be harsh to drop any of them, and they don't physically need to be rotated. So how do you get any of these guys in the team? Now, like I said, Wednesday I think we play again. It might be Tuesday. I think it's Wednesday against West Ham. Maybe that's the first time we might see some rotation in the back four. We might need to look after someone. But right now, you would imagine physically all of these guys are in the condition to play. So if it was me, that means Luke Shaw is going to start at left back because he's our best left back. That would mean Lisandro Martinez is going to play left centre back because he's our best left centre back. There is a tactical question here and here though, and I'd like to hear what you think of it. Feels like it's been a while since we've seen Yoro play. Yeah, I miss seeing Lenny Yoro given an opportunity, but what can you do at the moment? Like, there isn't physically the games to put him into because you can't take Lisandro Martinez out at the moment, and Maguire's been so good. You can't take him out. So it has made for a hard time for our younger centre-backs and also just our rotation centre-backs. Like when De Ligt eventually comes back, if he ever does, we're still going to have that same problem, right? Of like, who's actually going to go in there? Who's going to play centre-back and who's going to miss out? Someone's going to be upset every week. And normally, you'd say that's a great problem to have because it means we've got loads of strength in depth. But because we're playing so few games, it's actually just like a bit of a problem because we can't get those guys the minutes that they deserve. Yoro and Heaven are going to improve as centre-backs if they get to play football. But right now, we can't give them that. But of course, that's just where we are. You know, that's what happens when we were so terrible last season and pretty poor at the start of this season and went out of both cups. So, yeah, sort of where we are really, and there's not much we can do about it apart from sit and complain all day. So, yeah, that's what we've got. Alex, good morning to you, my friend. Hope you're well. Let's do 5 in a row first. Let the bloke cut his hair. Yeah, and then we'll start talking about winning the league. That's the plan. That's the plan. Maybe Heaven can start, but Litcher has been really good with the ball and also his leadership on the field. I actually have a couple of question marks over Lisandro Martinez defensively. There are things that I don't think he does that well. On the ball right now, though, I think he's been an absolute joke recently. To be honest, I think he has been insanely good. And we saw, particularly against City and also against Arsenal, that Lisandro Martinez getting the ball is almost a trigger for everyone in front to spark into life because they know when he's got it, they can do something. We've seen the 2 balls over the top for Bruno Fernandes and Mbeumo. We've seen his passing through the lines. We've seen him dribbling down the left wing. He can just do absolutely everything on the ball, and he is a joy to watch. And I don't think there's anyone on the planet like him, to be honest. So for me, you know, these two start. These two start. The questions are here. Maybe we do a poll for our right centre-back, and then maybe we do a poll. We'll have a chat as well for the right-back. I think we will do that. In the meantime, good morning to you, Alex, my friend, in the chat with the 26-month membership. Over 2 years. I feel like this could be another unchanged team. Yet, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I'll put it like that. I would not be surprised at all if it was that. Thank you very much, though, for the membership. Who am I putting in this poll? We've got Maguire, we've got Yoro, and we've got Aiden Heaven. Now, I don't think it'll be Heaven, because I don't think he would go for the 2 left-footed centre-backs. I don't think. Again, we've struck such a nice like basic balance recently on the pitch that it would feel weird to disrupt that. Now we are sticking to a back 4. Martinez will improve defensively again. So much confusion in the old system. Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is there's actually moments in the game where we defend in a similar shape to what we did before, because we used to see... where's Ahmad? Here he is. We used to see, say, United would play in a back 5, right, on paper, but then defensively, sometimes we would go into the 4-4-2. And at the moment, we are defending in a 4-4-2. So it seems like we end up in the same shape. But at the moment, as you said, it just feels much more natural, like far less confusion. It feels a lot more simplified what the roles are. This isn't a back 5 that shifts into a 4 and then shifts into a 3 and then shifts back into a 4 and then back into a 5. Off the ball, it's just a back 4. Simple as that. We press in a back 4, we mid-block in a back 4, we low-block in a back 4. Don't get me wrong, sometimes the wing-backs are going to come deeper, or sorry, the wingers are going to come back deeper and join us. But for the back 4, it just feels very simplified, and their roles are far more natural, which is why, yeah, I think people like Lisandro Martinez, instantly their performance level goes up, because they're much more comfortable in their role, and I think that always is going to help a player, right? If you can sort of get into a routine of what you're doing, I think you've got a much better chance of succeeding. Defensively, he has some issues, talking about Licher here, but we need to compromise somehow. Either put Heaven with Maguire or Euro with Licher. In any case, I think Maguire has to start against Solanke. That's a very good point. Yeah, that is a very good point. Spurs are a very good team on set pieces. At the moment, Harry Maguire is dominating the poll anyway with 76%. So looks like he's going to be in the team. But that is a point very well made. Romero is a massive threat on set pieces, and so is Van de Ven. These two are borderline Spurs' best attackers so far this season. They're up there with their biggest threats on set pieces. They're a big team. Palinha is also not a small guy. Not a small guy. Solanke, big, massive to be honest. Muani, big player. So, yeah, set pieces are something that we have to look at. If you think back to last time we played them, it was, of course, De Ligt, when we were down to 10 men with the 90th minute, whatever it was, 90th minute equaliser. Set pieces will probably be big in this game again. So, yeah, there is a very solid shout for playing Harry Maguire. And the poll agrees, 80%. So we don't need to leave that any longer. Maguire into the team. The question position. We're going to have the conversation again. Right back. Now, Diogo Dalot, we said this last week, is the scapegoat for the team. He has become that. Unfortunately, he's become the meme player. He makes a mistake. It's hilarious to clip it up and laugh at him. That's just how it is these days for some reason. However, I think Diogo Dalot has shown in the last 3 games that he's a very good footballer. A very good footballer. In a back four where he's a fullback as opposed to a wing-back, I think, again, his game has been simplified. I think he looks much more comfortable. On the ball, his role is quite obvious. It's to dovetail with the winger on his side. So if the winger is wide, Dalot plays narrow. If the winger is inside, Dalot goes round. Always on different lines. His role has been simplified, and I think he's been very good. I also do absolutely love Mazraoui. I think Mazraoui is a great footballer. On the ball, he is one of my favourite deep technicians to watch in the first phase. I think he's fantastic. But, again, if we are thinking with that idea of set pieces, if we're thinking the lack of athleticism in this back four, I would go Diogo Dalot. Because I raised this point last week. I just look at that back four and think in terms of athleticism, speed, power, it's a little bit lacking. You know, we know that Luke Shaw isn't someone who can go up and down the pitch for 90 minutes at 100 miles an hour, and he's not the quickest player in the world. Lisandro Martinez isn't the quickest or the strongest player in the world, although very aggressive, which makes up for a lot of it. Maguire, not the quickest, can't cover the most ground. And Mazraoui, you know, he's not slow, he's not poor physically by any means at all. You know, again, I love Mazraoui, I think he's a great player. But I just think if we're trying to profile with the other guys in the defence, Dalot is the most logical one for me. I think his speed, I think, is really underappreciated at times. I think the way that he covers ground on the right is underappreciated. So I would have Dalot in my team, but I'm happy to hear the argument for Mazraoui if you guys can let me know what it is in the chat. And also let me know just which one you would go for. That would be great, please and thank you. I'll tell you what would be also... What? I'll tell you what would also be great. That is if we could get some love hearts and appreciation in the chat for Glenn, who has just dropped 5 gifted memberships on all of your head tops. Glenn, thank you very much, my friend. So 5 of you that were not members before are now members simply because Glenn is feeling very generous. So thank you very much for the support. And guys, you know what to do. Love hearts all over the chat. Spam the chat with some love hearts. Some W's for Glenn. Thank you very much. Dalot has to start, in my opinion. Ahmad and Dalot working their socks off is something I love to see. Mazraoui is good on the ball, but Dalot isn't half bad either. Dalot has been playing great for a while. Yeah, the problem that Dalot's got is he is one of those players with the trait of a whoopsie moment, right? You know, he can play amazing for 89 minutes and 59 seconds, but he does have that sort of 1 second in him where you just want to headbutt him because he does something daft. He switches off or he doesn't close down or a silly ball, whatever. But largely, you know, I think Dalot's been very good for a long time. And he's such a useful player for us. The fact that he's available every week, the fact that he can play left back, he can play right back, he's played wing back on both sides this season, he can play centre back in a back three. I think he's been very good for us. Now, I don't think long term he's a player that I want starting week in, week out. You know, in 2 seasons' time, I probably wouldn't still want Dalot in my team every week. Absolutely not. But for right now, I think he's been very good. I think he's had 3 good games. And if we're rewarding Maguire, I think you reward Dalot as well, is sort of my opinion. I just think I just think Dalot complements Maguire a little bit better. I just think he complements him a little bit better. Say if our two centre backs were sort of like in the build of Lenny Yoro with their athleticism and also their height. Let's say you had two Aiden Heavens in defence, someone who is strong aerially, good in the duel on the ground, but also fairly quick. Then I would probably go for Mazraoui. I think he would be the better option. But when I look at those two centre backs, I don't see bags of speed and pace and ability to cover ground. So I probably would go for Dalot, especially when there's a chance Spurs might be quite transitional in this game. And Thomas Frank, they are not they're not setting the world alight, are they? So United will come into the game much more confident, and there's a chance United are on the front foot. If we're then defending spaces, I think Dalot's a little bit better. With these two. Purely, we're trying to profile players together here. We're trying to get a balance. This isn't who is the better footballer. It's who's going to complement these guys the most. I personally would go Dalot, but we will do a poll because Mazraoui always does deserve a shout because, again, he is absolutely fantastic and it's just a brilliant footballer. And again, it is a great problem for us to have, but it's also annoying that we can't give them both the game time that they deserve. They both deserve to play a lot of football, to be honest. Maybe a rotation, maybe can start also against Spurs. He deserves playtime. Yeah, and like I said earlier, this is one of the first times in recent weeks that we've got a midweek game as well against West Ham, so there will be an element of rotation at some point. I even wonder if against West Ham we might see Luke Shaw come out, sort of have a rest, and maybe Mazraoui goes in at left back. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But I don't think I would be changing the back four, and if I was, it would probably be Maguire for someone more physical. Sorry, not more physical, more athletic. But the problem is, with the set pieces, which I think will be a big part of this game, you want Maguire. So I'm leaning towards an unchanged back four. Mazraoui is better 1 versus 1. I don't think there's an awful lot in it, to be honest. I don't think either of them are like elite. Neither of them are Wan-Bissaka, but I don't think either of them are terrible either. Like, Dalot did very well against Doku a few weeks ago, for example. One of the best 1 versus 1 dribblers on the planet. But yeah, we've also seen Mazraoui in his time lock down good wingers as well. So I think it can be either of them in that regard. I'm purely going, personally, for the slightly more athletic option because I don't think we have bags of it. And we know that our midfield doesn't have bags of athleticism either. Casemiro and Kobe aren't amazing at covering ground. So I think Dalot is just a nice sort of... I think he supplements the balance quite nicely, is how I see it. Dalot's engine is needed versus Udogie. Yeah, I mean, we should cover the Spurs team for a moment because we don't know exactly what it's going to be. Romero came off at half-time against City, but it is believed that he is now fit. Van de Ven has missed a couple, but is believed to now be fit. Recently, they've been in the back three with Palhinha at right centre-back in the last 2 games. Will that continue? I'm not sure. There's a chance Danzo could come in at right centre-back, or Dragusin could also come into defence and Palhinha could go further forward. There's also a chance they move to a back 4, which is possible. The team I've got on screen today is purely based on what they've done in the past few games, plus players returning from injury. So it's a bit of a educated guess, I would say, this Spurs team. I don't know exactly how it's going to be, but I would imagine it's something like this. And, there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy in here in particular, in Conor Gallagher. So that's something that we have to be wary of. Let's leave the winning team alone as much as possible until it breaks. I never quite know where I stand on that argument. Because in one moment, I completely agree with you. I completely agree. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But also, there is something to be said for getting ahead of the error. You say about use this team until it breaks. Can you tweak the team before it breaks? That's the other question that I would always personally raise. I think if it's me, I'm going this back 4 again. And then maybe midweek, West Ham, we're having a look at tweaking, rotating, using some different profiles, doing something a little bit different. Mazraoui comes into the team, maybe either side at fullback, maybe a centre-back change. Mazraoui is underrated. He is. I think he's a very good player, to be honest. Again, I think if we had different centre-backs, it would be a different conversation. Mazraoui is a phenomenal footballer. Seriously, seriously gifted. But the poll has gone Diogo Dalot, 57%, which wouldn't have happened when he was at wingback, I don't think. Wouldn't have happened. I think he's done very well recently, Dalot, in the back four. Anyway, if we move to midfield, I mean, do we even need to... I nearly put Bruno deeper then. Old habits. Do we even need to talk about this? Do we even need to have a chat? Or is it just those three, please and thank you? Is it as simple as that? Now, what are the options? You could bring Ugarte in. You could bring in one of the Fletcher brothers. Mason Mount had a knock, but you would hope he's going to be okay because it was only meant to be a slight injury. Is there any conversation to have past this? Now, the concern is going to be again midweek. Can these guys go again midweek? Because Bruno Fernandes had a hamstring injury not that long ago. Kobbie Mainoo hasn't played much football all season. So to then play, start 4 games in a row, plus then play midweek against West Ham, 5 in a row that close, might be a challenge for him. And also Casemiro as well is not someone you necessarily want playing 90 minutes every week. Although he has had a couple of rests. He has had a couple of moments where he's gone to the bench. For now, it's this, right? For now, it's this. But again, the midweek stream next week might be a bit more of a tricky one. It might be a little bit more complicated. There might be more conversations for us to have. Anyway, for today, it makes it very easy. Those 3 into midfield, same back 4, same midfield 3, same goalkeeper, nice and easy. How about the front line? Last time out, we saw Bryan Mbeumo up top. It's Bryan Mbeumo, and he does what he does. Love him. Amad on the right wing, who I think is a quality player for us. And we saw Cunha on the left-hand side. This is what we saw last time out. We now know that Xerxes is looking pretty close to ready to go again, right? He looks like he can be involved in the team. And I want to see Xerxes at some point in this side. Because with the football we're playing at the moment, the overloads and the proximity and the interchanging work is just Xerxes all day long. If you want a striker that you can, let's say you overload one side, then you go into the feet of the striker and he lays it off so you can go far side. Xerxes is that man all day long. All day long. I would really like to see Xerxes in a free role, which he never really got under Amorim. I would love to see him at some point under Carrick, given an opportunity. And, Benjamin Sesko. Last time he started a football match, he scored 2 goals. Last time he came on as a sub, he scored a winner. Sesko's in a good place right now. And I think the whole conversation about Sesko is a bit weird, right? There's a lot of conversations about, he's had a difficult start to life at Manchester United. Has he? Has he? Has he really? Has Sesko had a difficult start? Granted, he's not started every week, but, big whoop. He's 21 years old? So it's absolutely fine for him to not start every week. Has Sesko really had a tough start to life here? I don't think he has. I think he's done pretty well. I think from the start, he's looked quite good. I think he's looked bright in every game. Physically, he's looked like a player that is dealing pretty well with the league. I think he's done well, to be honest. So I don't buy into this whole, Sesko's had a bad start. Yes, he probably needed the goal the other day. I think that would have done him a lot of good. That would be a huge boost for him. But I don't know that he was desperate for it. I think he's absolutely fine. Now, before people say it, I know we have 12 here. And unfortunately, we can't play with 12. But we do need to figure out who we would go for. Playing the kind of football we do now and not playing Xerxes would be a huge missed opportunity. If we don't see it like at least once, Xerxes from the start with Bruno around him, and let's say like Mbeumo and Amad on the wing as runners, I completely agree with you. Like not seeing Xerxes given that opportunity would feel like a missed opportunity because it just looks like it's a type of football that he could play. With runners going past him, people going around him coming to feet. I'd like it. A tough start to life for a striker just means not putting in Haaland numbers. I'd argue Sesko's putting in better numbers than Haaland right now. Just saying. But yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Like a 12-year-old could come to a big club in the Premier League right now, and if he doesn't score 40 goals in his first season, he's struggling. It's daft. Sesko versus tired legs won't be fun for the Spurs defence. Yeah, so there's a bit of a tactical conversation to be had here as well, isn't there? This isn't just a case of who's in better form or who do we like more. There is a tactical conversation to have. Now, Spurs are a little bit difficult to predict because they're not doing very well at the moment. They are chopping and changing a little bit. Now, some of that is because of injuries. but also because they're trying to find a solution. Thomas Frank is trying to find something that works. So sometimes he's defending in a back four, sometimes he's defending in a back five. The last couple of games, we've seen the back five like this. This is what Spurs have done. Now, if it's a back five, us Manchester United fans are pretty well qualified to talk about how you can attack it, right? And I think if Spurs were in a back five, I probably wouldn't go for Sesko. I just don't think playing up against those centre-backs is the way to do it. If you guys think back to Ruben Amorim, sorry. But something that always caused United a lot of problems was these forwards that would come off that front line, that would attach and then move away. That's something that I would be looking at if Spurs were to play a back five. That's something that I'd be looking at. An Mbumo or a Cunha maybe up front who can sort of draw these Spurs centre-backs out, and then you get those big channels of space that we've seen before. That's probably what I'd be looking at. But if Spurs went to more of a back four, let's say a 4-2-3-1, then I would maybe be looking at Sesko to play on the shoulder a little bit more, to stretch him behind a little bit more and ask those questions between the centre-backs. So it's a little bit tricky because it's a little bit of a guessing game trying to predict what Spurs are going to do. Knowing Thomas Frank, he's a slightly pragmatic manager, going away from home when things haven't been working well recently. I think he might go for a back five. I think he might. In which case, for me, I would go Cunha or Mbumo up front with the other one playing on the left. Because I just think, right, we saw it against City quite a lot, where you could almost play at times with, it's almost a front two with Bruno Fernandes and Mbumo. And they almost both play as false nines, but also play as strikers on the shoulder. They both do that little bit of both, don't they? One comes towards the ball, one goes past it. I think there is potential for real joy if these two can come towards the ball, or again, it might be Cunha. If they can come towards the ball and just ask those Spurs players to come out, because we've seen so many off-the-ball runs from United at the moment, so many players willing to go beyond. I just think there's something in that. Romero in particular is a very aggressive player positionally. He's a good centre-back, to be honest. He's a good centre-back. But where he can, he wants to be on the front foot. He wants to step forward into midfield. He doesn't want to cover in behind all day. If he can, he wants to be aggressive. He wants to get towards the ball. I just wonder if you can play on that a little bit. If you can almost draw him out, and is that how you make the space behind him? Especially as he came off at half-time the other day. Now, again, he's been past fit, but is he fully fit? Maybe that's something you can get at. I think Frank will go back five to try and stink it out. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me at all. Would not surprise me. Romero likes going against the physical strikers like Sesko. I would put Mbumo up top. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. We need to do what works well, attack the spaces in between the centre-backs and the full-backs / wing-backs. Yeah, that's the good thing here. We have spent a lot of time over the past couple of seasons now on these streams talking about sort of tweaks we need to make to try and deal with the opposition, to try and protect ourselves a little bit, to try and cover some of our weaknesses. And what we've always said is, like, I can't wait for the day that we're allowed to attack the opposition, that we make tweaks to hurt the opposition, that we try and get on the front foot. And at the moment, it feels like we can do that a little bit, which I think is a lot of fun, to see this United team trying to solve problems in an attacking sense, rather than always trying to fix our problems at the back. So I think it's a fun conversation to be able to have, to be honest. We do need to take a moment, though, because Chad is in the chat informing me that we've had around 280 viewers in this stream consistently, but only 45 likes. Now, I don't mean to be ungrateful. I really do appreciate everyone here, and especially the 45 that have left a like. But I do think we could get those numbers up just a little bit. I think we could. In fact, I'm just going to wait a moment. I'm going to drink some water while you guys quickly leave a like on the stream, because, of course, staying hydrated is important. Have you done it yet? Have you left a like? I trust that you've done it by now. I trust that you've done it by now. Right? Surely you have. Chad will let me know, I'm sure. Where were we? Kevin, hello, mate. How are you? Good to see you, my friend. Where were we? We were talking about strikers. Does anyone else, right, look at Van de Ven and think, God, you're potentially such a good centre-back, but there's something you're not quite doing right. Anyone else do that, or is it just me? I know there's a lot of United fans that wouldn't mind Van de Ven at the club, and it's obvious to see why, right? He's quick, strong, very athletic, can cover 90 yards in about half a second. He's a great covering defender. His pure speed is almost like a hack in a defence. His recovery pace is insane. But I always have this opinion, right? And maybe this is a lazy one, I don't know. But if as a centre-back, you're relying on your pace that much, I almost feel like there's something you're not quite doing right. Positionally, perhaps. Or with your footwork or something like that. Like, if Harry Maguire can play at this level with his speed, and then you look at Van de Ven, and so often it feels like he uses his pace to bail himself out, but also his teammates. I think there's something wrong with the team, what the team are doing defensively, but also something with the way that Van de Ven is preparing himself. I think there's something not right with Van de Ven. I think he's a good footballer, yeah, I do. I think he's a good player, but I think there's something that you can get at. I think covering big space, I think he's amazing. Covering this space here on a counter-attack, Van de Ven is a dream. He is what you want. He is what you want. But there's a great comment in the chat there. His footwork is bad too. And that's exactly what I was about to say. Cover at a big space, 90 yards. Van de Ven, it's his bread and butter. It's what he does all day long. Get up close and personal with him. And I don't think he's the same player. I don't like his footwork. I think he's a little bit clunky sometimes. I think he approaches these situations, almost comes into it a bit too fast sometimes. He almost rushes over into these 1v1s and then forgets to set himself properly. He almost doesn't compose himself in the right way in these situations. He comes over clunky but ends up quite flat-footed because he's been aggressive initially. I think someone like Ahmad, with his quick ability to shift direction, we saw it the other day, right, to go left or right. I think Ahmad's quick directional changes against Van de Ven might be something that we can look at. Again, Van de Ven, in terms of big spaces, counter-attacks, will probably be a bit of a problem for United. He'll probably snuff out some United attacks with his athleticism. But I think if you can get Ahmad close to him and really isolate him on a dribble, I think there's something that you can get at there. And, you know, we start to look across this Spurs defence. There's someone there who's not an amazing 1v1 defender. You've got a centre-back who commits quite overly aggressively sometimes. You know, there was a game, I can't think which one it was. There's a chance it was Villa in the Cup, because I remember watching that with some friends. But there was a game somewhat recently where Romero rushes out really early in the duel and just never ever got back to centre-back. The ball ends up in the box, a couple of passes are played, then it gets put in the net. And the whole time Romero's about 40 yards higher still. I think there's a player that you can drag out there. I think at Van de Ven, there's someone who's a good player, but not amazing 1v1. You've got Palinha, who's a good player, but he's not a centre-back. Not a centre-back in any stretch. I think there's something you can get at with these Spurs defenders. I think there's something you can get at. It's almost always better to not get in a situation where you have to make a last-ditch tackle. Exactly right. Exactly that. I just think it's a bit like Kyle Walker at times. I think Kyle Walker is a great fullback. But particularly towards the end of his time at Manchester City and also with England, it felt sometimes that his speed was sort of bailing him out because positionally he wasn't making the right decisions. He would almost cheat a bit defensively, knowing that the pace would save him. And there's only so much you can do that. And I get that feeling a little bit with Van de Ven. In terms of our forwards against their defence, I go into this game very confident. Very confident. Compared to the Europa League final, sorry to bring it up, I think our attack looks a different level now in terms of the questions that we can ask. So here, I'm excited about the battle. Very excited. I think United can cause serious problems in this game. And for me, it is Cunha or Mbeumo up front, if Spurs are in the back five. Now, the great thing is, I mean, Sesko as a sub is a quality option. We saw it the other day. We spoke about it last week in the stream. Having that depth from the bench, the fact you can bring Sesko into the team is an absolute joke. He's such a good player to bring in. To have that again this weekend seems like a good thing for me. Does anyone disagree with this? Does anyone want Sesko absolutely in from the start? And if so, who do you take out? I think I saw a mention earlier about maybe Mbeumo on the right and you take Ahmad out. I just can't take Ahmad out of the team. I can't do it. I think he's the only one of what we've got. I think if we look at football in quite a basic way, there's a few things that you need as your team. Obviously, you naturally need hard work and stuff like that. But on the ball, I always feel that you need someone who can pass well. You always need a player who can unlock a defence with a pass, but also control tempo with a pass. I always feel that you need someone who can run in behind. I always think you've got to stretch the opposition. I also think you've got to have someone who can dribble. And I do not think anyone at this club can dribble in the way that Ahmad does. Not 1 versus 1, out wide, against a fullback. I don't think there's anyone who does it quite like Ahmad. I don't think we have another player particularly close. We see the problem on the left wing, right? Cunha's a great player and has been very good recently. But he's not a dribbler. He's not a dribbler. He's a carrier, sure. Carry it over 20 yards. He's fantastic at it. The power is absurd. But stop against a fullback and go 1 versus 1? Not so much. He'll carry past them. Again, that long burst. But actually properly dribble? I don't think so. Not so much. And sometimes we see as a result that the left side can be a little bit flat as a consequence, right? We lack something. We lack a spark down there sometimes. Luckily, we have it on the right because we have Ahmad. I wouldn't be taking it out of the team. I think Mbeumo's a good player and he's been very good for us this season. But he can't dribble like Ahmad. He can't dribble like Ahmad. So for me, I said it the other day in a video, I think Ahmad is one of the first names on the team sheet for me. I'm putting Bruno in my team every week. I'm putting Kobbie Mainoo in my team every week. Casemiro at the moment. Ahmad. Those are sort of the first 4 names for me. Maybe with Mbeumo, to be honest. Those are sort of the first guys that get into my team. Lomans as well, of course. But you know what I mean? Ahmad is a player that you have in your team. So if we do want Sesko in, it's fine. I'm happy to do that. But who for? It's got to be Mbeumo or Cunha for me. Possibly bench Mbeumo and start Sesko. I guess the question is, how do you think Spurs will approach the game? Now, I'll hit you with a nerdy thing real quick. Their PPDA isn't too bad at all. Passes per defensive action, which basically means the amount of passes the opposition is able to play before Spurs interject with some sort of defensive action. Spurs are good at keeping those numbers low, which means the opposition can't play too many passes before Spurs get involved, right? So they don't necessarily park the bus. But where are they in the table? Keep looking down, keep looking down, keep looking further down. Wow. Even further, 14th. Spurs are 14th. Look at their run of form. Is that a draw, loss, draw? I mean, that puts them on track for a loss, if you ask me. What I'm saying is, though, their confidence is hit. I don't know if you guys saw the first half against Manchester City. They didn't turn up. They were passive, very passive defensively. All over the shop. I don't know what they were doing, to be honest. It's one of the worst halves of football I've seen. City were playing walking football and sort of tearing them apart. Second half, though, they did get back into it. Is that something that can be the catalyst for change for Spurs, possibly? Is that something which gives them the boost? The fact that they did come back from 2-0 against City? Because, that's difficult to do. I don't know. But I just think... I just think Thomas Frank probably looks at what United have done in recent weeks, looks at the way that we attacked City and Arsenal in particular, with the speed, with the pace of play, attacking the big gaps. I think Frank might be a little bit cautious. I think he might set up a little bit deeper. There's a chance, maybe I'm wrong with this, but I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs play deeper than what Fulham did. I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs is closer to a mid-low block than what Fulham were. Just for the sake of being cautious and trying to look after yourselves. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Frank is going to want to leave big spaces. So I think they set up a little bit deeper. Now, this is where Mbeumo versus Sesko comes in for me a little bit, and obviously Cunha's in the conversation as well. Against a team that might be in a lower block, do you go for your Sesko, who is a presence in the box? We saw it last weekend against Fulham. We didn't really create an awful lot. We didn't put the ball into the box that regularly. We didn't cross it that much. Sesko came on and we immediately crossed it into the box. He headed it and hit the post. Now, he didn't score. Yeah, okay, I get it. But immediately the threat. It's a different type of player on the pitch. He offered something which Mbeumo didn't. Really, to be honest, last weekend. Mbeumo didn't really trouble those centre-backs. Sesko did. There is that argument. The low block, you get yourself a Sesko in the team. There is that argument. But as we've discussed already, I do think you can pull those Spurs players out of position. And I think the way you do that is with more of an Mbumo or a Cunha or a Xerxes. I don't know what I would do. So we're going to go to a poll. If in doubt, poll it out. Sesko, I'm going to put Xerxes in. I think he's fit, right? Not as in, like, personal opinion. I believe he is athletically fit enough to play. Sesko, Xerxes, Mbumo, Cunha. Who would be your striker? Not who is the best player. Who is the best suited to this game? What do we think? What do we think? If we play a low block, we get a draw. Yeah, I mean, see it in the chat there. I want them to take the game to us. That's almost how it feels at the moment. You almost want a team to attack United because you think you can sucker punch them on the break. Which is, I just don't think Frank will set up like that. So again, it's a very different challenge for United to try and overcome. It's another question for Michael Carrick to try and answer. So far, I think he's answered every question pretty darn well, and hopefully that continues. But yeah, like, it happens. Not every team is going to come to Old Trafford and give us space to play. It's not going to happen. Teams will wise up, which in a way is a really good thing, because it makes you a bit of a multi-threat team, right? If you are so quick, so dangerous with the open spaces, teams naturally drop off a little bit deeper. The great thing when teams drop off deeper is you get a bit more time around the back to build your possession. Then we have this thing that people call control. Something we haven't had really recently. Then no, with that control, you've got a different type of game to try and play, and you've got different challenges to face and different questions to answer. You've got to try and find a way through a block, which is very different. So, yeah, the ideal situation, we said this a few years ago under Erik ten Hag, is for United to get great at both. Imagine a world where United are amazing at playing in big spaces, like we almost instantly are under Carrick, but also amazing at playing in small spaces and breaking a team down. If we can get to a point where we can do both, I would hate to be the opposition trying to prepare for us. That's a point that I would love to get to. I would love to be a United team that can do both. So if Spurs come and press us and attack us, we just rip them to shreds on the counter-attack. But if Spurs come and sit deep, we are so patient, but also, I don't know, have so much spark in our game that we can play through them, and we can hurt teams from set pieces. Like that sounds like a great world for me. That sounds like a great world to live in. So that's where I'm hoping United are able to go over the next couple of seasons. That for me always has to be the aim. Has to be. What's the poll saying at the moment? So it's pretty much a straight shootout between Sesko and Brian Mbumo. Okay, so 63 votes at the moment. I will leave that slightly longer. If you want to get involved in the poll, it doesn't cost anything to do. You just click poll. You just open it and then press or click one. Pretty simple. So have your say, because this is rather close. Mbumo versus Sesko for the striker position. Who knows? Spurs will play a game of two halves. Seems logical. First half, they'll be reserved. Second half, they'll attack more. And that is where Mbumo comes in. I mean, we've got to consider game state as well, right? If Spurs were to take a lead, let's say they're 1-0 up by the 60th, then you would imagine they play 30 minutes quite deep. If they are losing 2-0, you would imagine there's big spaces open up because Spurs would attack more. Game state is very important. This feels like one where you need to get ahead. Now, I can't remember the exact stat. Someone can probably go and check it on Twitter. Statman Dave tweeted about, I think, only 2 teams have conceded more first half goals than Spurs this season. It was Wolves and I can't remember the other one, perhaps Burnley, near the bottom of the table. But like, that's not a good sign for Spurs. And for United it is. You know, the thought that we can get on the front foot, we can attack, we could score an early goal in the first half. It's exactly what Old Trafford needs. Old Trafford needs another positive afternoon. Because at the moment, we sort of suddenly come into the game with an expectation. We've beat City, we've beat Arsenal. So you go into that Fulham game with that expectation. Then the performance isn't amazing, but we still get the result. But it did make for a bit of a weird atmosphere. And I could see the same being the case this weekend, where because we've won the last 3, and because of who we've beaten and how we've beaten them, there is that expectation now that you go and beat Spurs because they're 14th in the league. And again, that will probably cause a slight anxiety in the stadium because the fans will want that goal, will feel that we should beat Spurs. So why aren't we beating them immediately? There is that chance that creeps in. And I think that's where the players emotionally have got to be very mature. I've got to make good decisions on the ball. Again, figure out when we've got to play with speed and when we've got to slow down again. This feels to me like one of those games that we could win this 3-0, to be honest. I think we could. I think we're a lot better than Spurs. I don't think on paper, I watched the two teams, I think United are clear. To be honest, I think we're much better than what Spurs are. But Spurs will be compact. You would expect. They'll be difficult to beat. They offer plenty of threat in transition. Plenty of good forwards, Simmons, Solanke, Milani, Tell from the bench. They got plenty of good players in their team as well. And yeah, Spurs have sort of owned us recently. Look at that. We played them 4 times last season and didn't win a single one. Conceded 3, then conceded 4, and then 1, and then they beat us in the Europa League final. A terrible Spurs team. A terrible Spurs team did that to us last season. And even this season have drawn against us. We've got to beat them just because I am fed up of dropping points to a Spurs team which has looked so beatable for so long now. Like every game last season, we looked at it and sort of looked tactically, and the way that you could hurt Spurs was quite obvious because everyone could do it under Postecoglou. Yet United couldn't. That was so frustrating, infuriating. Hopefully, this weekend can be a change and back to former times where we go, lads, it's Tottenham, and we win. That would be lovely. But I don't think it will be super easy. Yeah, we need some payback. We need some payback, absolutely. All right, the poll has eventually sort of stretched out a little bit, and Mbeumo has won the poll to play up front, which means it won't be Sesko left wing. So it means, I believe, an unchanged team. Is that correct? It is indeed. How about the bench? Yoro, nice. Heaven, nice. Mazraoui, nice. Good depth to start off with in the defence, should we need it. Midfield, a little bit light. Maybe one of the Fletchers gets in again. With Ugarte as well, you would expect. Mount, Xerxes, Sesko. The concern always, right, again, is the lack of winger from the bench, but we have the same problem in the starting 11. Ahmad's the winger, and that's it. So there's that concern. If we needed someone to come on out wide and play 1 versus 1 a lot, we'd struggle a little bit. I'd like to throw Lacey into the conversation as well. Something I wouldn't mind seeing in this game is if it isn't working, if we're struggling, particularly down the left, can we swap Cunha and Mbeumo for 20 minutes? Let Mbeumo play as a winger and go at a man and cross from out wide. Can we try that for a bit? Or is there a sub where, I don't know, maybe Sesko comes on up front and Mbeumo drops wider? Or Lacey comes on and Ahmad shifts to the other side? Something like that. I think we are still a little bit toothless down the left with proper width. So I'm hoping to see Carrick can sort of provide solutions mid-game should we need them. I think all of his subs have been very good so far. Against Fulham, I felt they came just a little bit late. I felt the game was a little bit flat. I'd have gone 5-10 minutes earlier than what Carrick did. But, we can't be too critical. He's won 3 games in a row. So, and his subs are scoring goals. So we can't be too critical. But, overall, I look at that team once again. The obvious weakness is that we probably lack that proper 1 versus 1 threat on the left. Someone who is going to go up against Archie Gray, who's not a fullback, but he's a good player, and sort of go at him consistently. I think what we'll be looking for more is combination play to beat them down this side. Can we draw Palhinha out with someone like Cunha? And can that free up Mbeumo in that little bit of space there? You would also think this lineup means Bruno plays more to the right-hand side than the left-hand side. You'd imagine Bruno comes into this side here, which means the type of pass that he plays changes. You're looking at back post crosses over there, but you're also looking at that slip in that little bit of space there, where the striker starts central, then peels into the channel. That is something for us to consider. But, to be honest, I look at this game overall, and I think, yeah, this is one that United should be winning. This is one that United should be winning. So, the big thing for me is for us defensively to improve on what we did last week. Because last week we lost some control because we couldn't defend very well. And that gave Fulham a grip in the game. I don't want that this week. Spurs will play out from the back. They'll go to a back 4 like this. Palhinha, right centre-back. If it is a back 3, we'll go to right-back. Gray will go a little bit further forward. United have got to be on it defensively. Now, there's not pure press resistance in there, to be honest. Gallagher's a great engine, but I don't love him in this phase of play. So I wouldn't be surprised if United go for a similar pressing shape to what we've seen recently, with a bit more of a diamond. I think Cunha's got to do a bit more if he is to play there. I think he's got to do a little bit more than what he has done, say, against Fulham, for example. But to be honest, I just look at the game and think we should win. But I did think that every time we faced them last season, and we didn't. So I've been wrong before, is what I'm trying to say. But I do look at the game with confidence. How about you guys? How about you guys? What do we reckon? We did exactly that against Fulham, AJ. Cunha went out for Sesko and Mbumo played on the left. Yeah, exactly right. And I think it's something that we should do more of. I really do think Mbumo on the left is an option for us. I think he's a big threat. He actually played from the start on the left against Spurs. You may recall he scored a header at the back post from the left-hand side. Something to maybe look at in this game, that cross towards the back post. Maybe if Bruno is to be in the right half space. Where's Bruno? Over here. If Bruno is to be over here, with Cunha inside left, crosses towards that back region, again, maybe something for us to look at. Maybe something for us to look out for. For now, though, I want some score predictions. Players, who's going to score the goals, who's going to get them, and also, theme of the game. Is this United dominant against a low block? Is this toe-to-toe? Is this Spurs on the front foot? Is it frustrating or is it free-flowing? Let me know what you think. Simon, good morning to you, my friend. No worries for being late, although we are very close to wrapping up the stream, so I do apologise. But yes, you're right. Spurs do have quite a lot of players injured. Now, Van de Ven is set to return, and it also looks like Romero has passed the fitness test after the knock against City. So, defensively, they'll probably be not far off full strength, but I think certainly in the attack, James Maddison and Kudus being out, Kulusevski, you know, they're missing big players. Big players. Sorry, Chad said 6-1. Did Spurs do a 6-1 at one point? Was that in 2021 maybe? I mean, I keep looking at this. I keep coming back to it. We want to win this game. We want to win this game. We owe Spurs a bit of a thrashing, to be honest. We owe Spurs like a 3-0 here. I'm not saying it'll be that easy, but we really owe them a 3-0. We need to go out and turn over Spurs. Give us a little 2-0 lead in the first half and then one to secure it in the second half with the subs coming on. Lovely. I'd love us to batter them, to be honest, because they just do my nut in recent years. They are so frustrating because they look so beatable yet every time they beat us. So, Mr. Michael Carrick, Spurs have been mean to us. Can you go sort them out, please and thank you? That'd be lovely. What's the chat saying? I think I'm seeing largely positive takes, which I love to see. Let's have a look. Chad says 6-1. It might be the day for it. You know what, Chad? If there's a time, it might be this weekend. What else? We've got 2-1, 3-1. 3-1, lovely. 3-0 says Callum. Goals from Bruno, Kobe and Sesko. Francis says 15-0 to United. You know what? I think it's achievable. We're slowly making Old Trafford a fortress, so I reckon a win. It's definitely something we need to do. We need to make this place horrible to play at. Need that atmosphere. I think late on in the last couple it's been really good. Need that from the start. Positive, vibing Old Trafford is dangerous. It's dangerous. 3-1 United. Mbumo, Cunha, Sesko. Lovely. The new front three scoring goals would be beautiful. 4-0, yes please. 3-1 says David. David, have you got Delict scoring? Does that maybe Sesko? Is that Sesko, Bruno and Mbumo? 5-0, Ahmad brace, Bruno brace and Mbumo goal. Yes, please. If they don't play a low block, it'll be 3-1 United. Lovely. And I'll read one more. 3-0 with a Maguire hat-trick. Header, overhead, and then a Rabona. That sounds quite nice. I don't know if you noticed, Casemiro got a hat-trick last week. A typical Casemiro hat-trick. Goal, assist, yellow card. Proper Casemiro. We love it. Was Sesko? Yeah, I thought so. Lovely. Ahmad and Sesko to score. Spurs defender scoring a header. Yeah, again, set pieces, they are a big threat, and there's something we have to look out for. Look at the fixtures. If United were to beat Spurs, you know, again, it's a chance to gain on someone. Bournemouth Villa is not an easy game for Villa with the players that they've got missing at the moment. And Bournemouth at home are good. Bournemouth are a good side at home. You would think Arsenal beat Sunderland, so a slight dent in our title hopes there, perhaps. Wolves, Chelsea, you'd think Chelsea win. Newcastle, Brentford's a very interesting one, as is Brighton Palace. And then Liverpool City. Teams are going to be dropping points this weekend. Teams are going to be dropping points. So if United can win, is there a world where Bournemouth Bournemouth beat Villa. United beat Spurs. Be 2 points off them. Who'd Chelsea have? Wolves. Okay. Wolves probably aren't going to beat Chelsea. I mean, they might. Stranger things happened. You know, imagine if City were to beat Liverpool and United were to win. That little gap just starting to open up would be really nice for us, because it is a battle for the top 5 this season. And I think it is top 5. It looks like top 5 will be enough for Champions League football, and that's where United need to be. I think Arsenal will go on to win the league. To be honest, I think they probably will, unless Michael Carrick really gets cooking. I think Arsenal will win the league. So I think it's City, I think it's Villa, I think it's United, I think it's Chelsea, and I think it's Liverpool. So 5 teams battling for 4 spots is basically how I see it. I think one team is going to finish 6th and be miserable, because they'll look back at the season and go, oh my God, the league was weak. That was our time to get top 5 and get Champions League football. One of them's going to miss out. One of them's going to miss out. I really hope it's not us. It can't be us. It can't be us. But, right? It can't be us. Please reassure me. But yeah, it's another big opportunity. If City were to beat Liverpool, then, you know, we pull away from Liverpool. If Villa were to lose, then we can gain on them. Things like that. These are the points we need to pick up. And we're going to be saying that a lot between now and the end of the season. Pretty much every weekend, we're going to look at it and go, you know, win here and we can open a gap or we can close a gap. And that's what United need to be trying to do. So that is pretty much the plan for the rest of the season, right? It's pretty straightforward. Blazing Runner, you can get a 50th birthday shout out. Happy birthday to you, my friend. I hope you have an amazing day. And I hope United give you a nice little late birthday present tomorrow with a lovely 3-0 win to bury Spurs. That would be beautiful. That would be absolutely lovely. But yes, happy birthday to you, my friend. And I'm sure the chat will wish you a happy birthday as well. Anyway, as far as streaming goes, I think we are now finished. We've had a look at the Manchester United 11. We've ended up unchanged. Happens sometimes. I think next week will be a bit of a different one with the midweek game against West Ham. That will probably change the conversation a little bit. Spoken about this, spoken about this, spoken about this, spoken about this. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I think that's everything for today. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this stream. We will be back streaming midweek next week as we preview the West Ham game. There will also be a video out tonight discussing Bruno Fernandes and why I feel he is one of, if not the best player in the Premier League right now. The video was meant to come out yesterday. I have to hold my hands up here. I was out all day yesterday, thinking I had already made yesterday's video and had it scheduled to go out, but I didn't. Bit awkward, but that's why you didn't get a video yesterday. But the Bruno video should be out tonight, and then tomorrow United play at 12:30, so I should be able to get the video out the same day. Then I'm off to a lovely little charity event, and then Sunday, hopefully we're talking about something positive from this game, whether it's how we attacked, how we defended a certain player, whatever, and then we go again next week. So yes, plenty of videos on the way, plenty of streams on the way. I hope you are enjoying the content. I really hope you are. If you are, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe to this channel. Get your notifications on so you never miss an upload or a stream. And yeah, let's just keep growing this amazing community. Would be lovely. It would also help if, you know, United keep winning football matches. That would be absolutely lovely. But yes, I'm going to stop rambling. That is everything for today. Maybe a Maguire video coming in the future. If you would like to let me know what videos you want to see, join a Discord server, which is linked in the description and at the top of the chat. Thanks to David. But yes, in terms of streaming for today, we are now finished. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will see you all very, very soon. Hopefully celebrating a Manchester United win, and then looking forward to the future. So yeah, see you soon.